Very Bad Wizards is a podcast with a philosopher, my dad, and a psychologist, Dave Pizarro, having an informal discussion about issues in science and ethics. Please note that the discussion contains bad words that I'm not allowed to say, and knowing my dad, some very inappropriate jokes.
Yeah, because you're searching for perfection, and perfection is the enemy of perfectly adequate.
Oh, that's the bar here? Adequate?
The Galen boss has spoken. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Who are you? Who are you? A very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Good man. They think deep thoughts, and with no more brains than you have. Pay no attention to that man. Anybody can have a brain.
You're a very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Just a very bad wizard.
Welcome to Very Bad Wizards. I'm Tamler Summers from the University of Houston. Dave, when you think about it, right, how do we know we're not in the Matrix?
Oh, God. I thought of a really terrible answer, but that'll have to wait for the main segment, I guess. We never will. We never will. I mean...
I don't know. Have you ever had deja vu? You know what that is?
It's a glitch. It's a glitch in the Matrix. I'm trying to think. So The Matrix was the very first movie that I ever purchased on DVD. And I was so excited. And it was so cool. And it's just not that cool anymore, is it?
People think it's still cool. I have never, this is a somewhat, I guess at this point, almost embarrassing admission. I probably took it as a matter of pride before, but I've never watched the whole Matrix.
Oh, yeah.
I keep trying to start it, and I give up halfway through two-thirds of the way through. Actually, what we're going to talk about it in the main segment, which is simulation theory, the strange attractions people have towards it, and then this documentary by Rodney Ascher called A Glitch in the Matrix, and that made me appreciate the Matrix more than trying to watch it every single time that because it got at the griminess of it. I don't fully think I appreciated that aspect of the Matrix enough.
I think we've talked about this before, but I think if you didn't watch it within the sort of 5-year span, maybe there's so many derivative works that it's it actually feels derivative, even though it wasn't,
Yeah.
When even Kung Fu Panda is doing your little bit of dodging bullets,
right. Yeah, like The Shining or something like that. It becomes too iconic almost.
Right. It's almost Tamler. It's almost cringe.
It's almost cringe. I don't know. I'm not sure that's the best. I'm not sure why you would choose that adjective of it. But anyway, yeah, that's what we're talking about in the second segment. In the first segment, totally off topic.
with no effort in a segue at all.
No bridge for me to cross, nothing thrown out, we're going to do some Very Bad Wizards conceptual analysis.
That's right.
Where we
it's a segment.
It is. I think have we done one or two other ones?
We did corny. You know what we did? We did was our snitch episode a little bit like that?
It was
an extra, but
bit. Yeah.
I feel like we've done one more, but I'm forgetting.
So this is Very Bad Wizards does conceptual analysis. We try to nail down the necessary and sufficient conditions of concepts like corny, snitching. And today we are going to do something, I guess that's a little bit related to corny, although also pretty distinct, cringe.
Yeah. And I feel like I come across cringe just a lot. And I don't know, more than usual recently.
Well, just getting to a certain age, I think you're always in danger of it, and also being a professor. And
that's
teaching
true.
Students, you're just on a field, a minefield of potential.
Oh yeah, I'll never forget when I was in grad school. I was TAing for a social psychology class, and the professor was just super nice and sincere. So this was like, I want to say like right around the year 2000, 1999 or something like that. And she had the same slides that she had been using clearly for like 10 years. And she also seemed to have her lectures written out. And I remember one time, she was transitioning slides, and then on one of the slides, it's just a picture of Alf. And she says, and then she starts like very rotely talking about, so think about the TV show Alf. And that, and nobody at that point had heard of who Alf was or anything. And she was so sincerely, I think, trying to relate to the kids.
Right.
That it was really, I didn't have a word cringe for it back then, but it really was. And I feel like my whole life as a lecturer is to avoid ever being like
cringe.
that.
Yeah. But if you try too hard, also you can be cringe by trying not to be cringe, I think.
Yeah.
I have this part of my general, sometimes like overconfidence, that I'm not cringe that often. Like that's kind of like I have this, because I'm sure that's not true if I really think about it, like rationally, but like
it's
I'll
part of
give
your
a lecture.
self-concept is that you're not cringe.
Yeah, exactly. That I can navigate those fields with the proper amount of like self-deprecation and and actually good jokes, not cringe jokes.
Have you ever said anything to Liza and had her respond with that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, no man is going to like not do something cringe for his daughter. Right? Like,
I remember like not too long ago, I don't remember what slang it was that I said. And Bella just gave me this look, and I was like, what? She's like, that's just so cringy that you're trying to use that word. and I was genuinely offended because, in fact, it was slang from my era that Zoomers have just co-opted as their own. Yeah. And I was like, fuck you, I've been using this word.
That's the thing when you're Gen X, is it's all bullshit because we're the coolest. And, most of the stuff that they think they invented, we were already there.
That's right. All right, so we've come prepared with our conceptual analysis, and you have a proposed definition. I have something like a set of conditions that is neither necessary nor sufficient.
All right, this is like I'm just throwing it out there. I haven't really thought about this that much, but when there is a mismatch,
so I take it back that we come prepared. I take it back. I came prepared.
No. I mean, like about this definition. Okay. I mean, I also haven't been that prepared for this whole thing. I thought we were just gonna toss it around. But when there is a mismatch between how the person believes he or she is being perceived and how they are actually being perceived, that's, I think, my best. Like, if I had to do it in a sentence. And I guess, but you'd have to add that they perceive something going over in a good way, but it's actually going over.
Right. Yeah.
That just gets us started.
Yep. I like that. I think it's good. It's never going to be necessary or sufficient.
But it might be necessary in that.
It might be necessary.
Yeah. Here, let me just throw out one of the most famous cringy movie scenes maybe ever is from Swingers, when he's leaving those voicemails.
Yeah.
Is that a counterexample? Because I think he knows that it's not going well. He just compulsively can't stop himself from just calling back and leaving the voicemails and thinking. But maybe in the moment where he thinks it's a good idea to call back and leave another message, there's this mismatch when we know that's the worst possible thing you can do, that you have to cut bait entirely and then just apologize the next day.
It makes me think, is there a distinction between cringe being a property of the person who is being cringy and cringe as the emotion that I'm feeling in response to them? I guess it's just sort of the same, but focus on two different things.
Yeah.
Cringe. But so I had also on my list a lack of self-awareness. I do think that's necessary.
Yeah.
So the feeling of cringe is like vicarious embarrassment, I think, right? It's this kind of vicarious embarrassment. And I do think that the person who is being cringy has to be sincere. And that's part of what makes it terrible, is that they really seem to think that what they're saying or doing is fine or normal, or like they're endorsing
funny.
it. They're not doing it ironically. They're taking themselves seriously. A lot of cringe is like people taking themselves a bit too seriously when they're saying these things. And then
They can all. I think you can be cringe when you're telling a joke that's not funny, or saying something that you think is funny and is not funny, and you start laughing. They're not being serious in one way, but they're being serious in the way that they think that what they're doing is should meet with social approval of some kind. You know?
Yeah, definitely. You know, there's cringe humor. What this paper was about feels a little different to me too. When, like you bringing up the swingers case, the fact that they're making us laugh with this is like they are creating the character as being not self-aware in a way that is making it sort of like the Office, the David Brent kind of character.
Yeah.
Like where it is David Brent is or Michael Scott they're terribly not self-aware. And so the writers of the show are trying to give us that feeling. And so it's meta funny.
You mean it's meta funny when they're telling jokes that aren't?
Well, I meant it's meta funny in the sense that if we were talking to David Brent when he said those things, it wouldn't really be funny.
Right. Yes, because I think one of the hallmarks of cringe in person, which is different than cringe comedy in a movie or a TV show, I think, is that you have trouble like looking them in the eye. You have trouble like just you feel really uncomfortable in your own skin, and you're definitely looking away and just begging the person to stop. Like they can't, if they keep going. It's just, I think it's because we have to react not in the way that we feel about it, which is, like, you're a fucking idiot right now, and it's just making it worse, and please stop.
Right. It's an interesting kind of vicarious embarrassment too, because it's like, if you do something embarrassing in front of an audience, I'm in that audience and I see that you got embarrassed. It's one thing. Like I can be very embarrassed for you.
Yeah.
And you be embarrassed too. But they're just like failing to see that they ought to be embarrassed. And it's just like, oh man, it's a big oof. Like that's just like, you should know. They should know that they're completely saying or doing something that's just so bad.
Yeah, and for someone like me who really has trouble hiding how he feels, like it's very hard because even though they should know that they're going to be embarrassed, they're not embarrassed, and I'm not supposed to like signal to them that they should be embarrassed. I'm supposed to do the opposite. Like if I'm just trying to be a nice person, and that's what's so hard about it. That's why I think I look away always, because if they look me in the eye, they will know exactly what I think. Just like, but I think sometimes they know anyway. Like I just have this kind of hopeless look on my face, I think. Right. Just like, we sunk to depths that I just don't know, like, if there's any escape from this.
I was remembering that when we talked about corny, I think at least that I had this view that corniness also needed some sincerity. And I think that might be true. It's just that like you can tell a corny joke sort of knowing that you're trying to be funny, and cringe is even less self-aware, I think. Like it's, how could you possibly think this? So I have an example of things that I constantly find cringe, and that's Elon Musk tweeting like 69 jokes.
Oh God.
That's just so bad. It's just like, what? Like, oh my God. Like you're just, he also named his Tesla cars like the Model S, the Model X, and the Model 3 because that spells out sex.
Oh God.
Like, isn't that crazy? That's just,
but so here's a question that actually raises an interesting question, because although we think that's cringe, like he'll get, for all those fucking tweets, he'll just get like hundreds of thousands of likes, and he has these people who worship him. At that point, is it like cringe anymore, or is it just kind of a sad fact about the world?
I think it's cringe, and I'm going to make a normative claim. It ought to be cringe, and I think that the people who are like on his nuts either mistakenly think that he's being ironic, like, and I don't think that it's that.
I don't think it's that. That might be true for like 0.5% of those people.
Or they also are cringy themselves.
We have a duty to not reward cringe behavior, and a lot of people don't do their duty when it comes to that, either out of politeness or because they're just too stupid to see that it's cringeworthy.
Well, so this is one of my big problems with, say, Twitter, because I think normally if you were saying this shit in real life, you might start to realize from people's, like people like you with leaky faces who can't help but make just a face that reveals that you're being cringy. You get feedback. But what happens on Twitter is there's an asymmetry where if 1,000 people like it and 1,000,000 people think it's cringe, all you get is 1,000 likes.
So that's different than like David Brent in The Office, where it's like everybody but
knows.
him essentially is getting this just really skin crawling feeling as he's doing what he's doing, and he thinks it's going great. I don't know, like the British Office has so many examples. I had trouble narrowing it down, but when he's being a motivational, there's two when he's being a motivational speaker, you remember that one, and he's and just comes out of that thinking that it just went great. He's in that kind of high energy, like after you've given a good lecture or something like that, you feel like the shit, and but it's like everybody else is like, yeah, well, I mean, it's not exactly my style of thing, but sure. Yeah.
I'll let you into a little secret now, right? Before I went out there, I was worried whether I still had it. I'll let you be the judge of that. High five, don't let me hanging down. Oh, God. Oh, jeez. Oh, here he is. Oh, Tina, a bit too much for you? Possibly. Oh, it's your job. Hold me back, because when I'm out there, I am... Oh, and it's like... So, that's up to you, I'm afraid. Oh, gee. Tell you what, though, seemed to go for it, didn't they?
God, that show makes me so uncomfortable. So there's a lot of like cringe that makes me cringe because like there's this sort of like sincere emo-ness to him. There's this guy named I don't remember his name, but he's this Indian TikToker who would make these Joker faces, and it's terrible because clearly he's taking himself seriously, thinking that he looks cool doing something that he looks really dumb doing. But there would like be at the bottom like some sort of quote like, I don't know, like I may not like something just very emo, like fuck, I can't even think of an example. I'm gonna have to look it up, dude, and we're gonna cut this.
I like that you were saying that I wasn't prepared.
I'm going to put a link to Indian Joker, but it is one of the cringiest things. In fact, he got well known because the subreddit r/cringetopia would feature him all the time. It was always accompanied by like some emo message about really like being rejected by girls or wanting to kick some guy's ass because like, or like, you don't know the pain I've been through, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know my pain.
Right.
Is one of the cringiest things you could ever say.
And it's like, of course I don't, because I don't know who you are. So what about real life? Like, where do you find... I feel like we're not doing conceptual analysis. Like.
Yeah. So, okay. So my list of stuff was, it's like a feeling of like, it's cringe. The cringe feeling is vicarious embarrassment, and it's triggered by something that is sincere, that takes itself very seriously, and that lacks self-awareness. And that still doesn't complete sort of like what the content is.
Yeah.
Like that. It's hard to pin down the content, and all I can do is say, like, sometimes when it's like revealing of emotions that you really shouldn't be feeling, that's one kind.
Or revealing,
like,
yeah.
Or just revealing in general.
Like virtue signaling is often cringy. So sometimes the content can be, you say something very, like Democrats trying to get all social justice-y, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get myself in trouble because I know a lot of people like these things or think they're valuable, but like I find like land acknowledgements.
Oh my God. I don't think that's true that a lot of people find those very valuable.
Canadians just all do it, I think. Like I've gotten in arguments about this. Maybe not a lot, but
it is the cringiest thing. What are you doing? Like what? Are you going to give the land back? Are you going to like? It seems like you're fucking like trash talking at a certain point. Like, right. I'm on this motherfucker's land right now.
I know. It's like, just do something. Like, you gonna do something
Do
about
something. Yeah, so that stuff's cringy when, like, this is all mostly East Coast stuff, but I have friends that work in the arts in New York, and they all have to, on Zoom calls, describe their appearance. Because what if there was someone that was visually impaired? And even if there's not anybody that's visually impaired, they still do it to normalize it. And then the worst part is they'll start putting in little jokes describing themselves. Like, my hair is all messed up today. I just got up too late, and, talk about their clothes. It's just like...
I've never experienced that.
My sister-in-law says, like, it'll be like an hour meeting, and we won't be done with that shit for like
I've never
40 minutes.
I've never even heard of people doing that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sort of empty virtue signaling is a good example. Like,
also, like, the Republicans trying to be Trumpy or MAGA, pretend they're kind of populist is really cringy too.
Right. Yeah. There are a lot of people now who do cringy TikTok videos because, like, they know that it gets a lot of views and, like, people, but they are being very self-aware in their cringiness. But it requires to make a video that's cringy, you have to, like, if someone sees it for the first time not knowing that you're one of those accounts, they have to really find it cringy. So it's kind of brilliant that it's like, that they're so self-aware that they can make themselves.
Right. And you're willing to, like, leave yourself open for just misguided attacks.
Right, exactly. And then you get a bunch of people in the comments being like, oh my God, can't you tell what's satire?
Yeah,
exactly. In fact, that used to happen on the Cringetopia subreddit, where a lot of people would be like, somebody would post a cringy thing and people would mock them for not knowing that it was satirical. And it really was like a blurred line between what is cringy in that the person really didn't know versus satire and that they were mocking you for not knowing.
Right. I will give this generation, the Zoomers or whatever, credit for, they will put out humor that is, like, I don't know if I can, like, meet their meta-ness.
Yeah, it's exactly
like,
right.
It's like, that's, like, beyond my intellectual powers to try to, like, kind of figure out, like, is this ironic? Is this sincere but pretending to be ironic? Or, like, another level up of that? Like, it's, they're, like, I'm really impressed with that.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I struggle sometimes to find it funny. But sometimes I do. I think it's hilarious. Right. Like, they really do get, it is some serious Zoomer shit to be like, like, pop 3 levels of meta and do it deadpanny in a funny way.
It's like 6 dimensions. Like, I can't conceive of the world.
Like
I just conceive of the world in my, like, Gen X, like, framework.
Yeah. We're still like on like Friends level sarcasm, and they've come all the way around to really liking Friends.
Right. They've already lapped us in terms of, like. So congratulations. Do I have anything else? Oh, I just have other examples. So here's one that's cringe, but maybe more in the old-fashioned like times where cringe wasn't an adjective on its own. Like, you would say it was cringe-inducing, or it was cringy. Maybe even that, I think, is fairly recent. Yeah. But so, Taxi Driver, when Robert De Niro, Travis Bickle takes Sybil Shepherd on a date. And he takes her out. He just sees her in the window, takes her out. And on a first date, because he's this, like, war veteran that just drives taxis at night because he can't sleep, he takes her to, like, what he does, which is like a porn theater. And she's all dressed up, but he's gone to these. You see him go to these things, and you see that, like, occasionally, like, couples will be in there. Yeah. And so he thinks, oh, this is like a place I could take a woman. And so he does that. And and of course, she's just like, at first she was like, what is this? And then she's just kind of horrified. And she walks out. And then there's a scene a little later on where she doesn't want to talk to him anymore. She's not, like, picking up the phone, and he calls, and she picks up the phone, and he.
How you doing? Listen, I'm sorry about the other night. I didn't know that was the way you felt about it. Well, I didn't know that was the way you felt. I would have taken you somewhere else. Okay. Did you get my flowers in the? You didn't get them, but I sent some flowers. Well, okay. Can I call you again? Then tomorrow or the next day? Okay. No, I'm going to... Okay, yeah, sure, okay.
And then the camera just kind of moves away. So he's talking on the phone in a payphone, and then it just moves away to like an empty hallway as he's speaking and like just getting absolutely nowhere. And Scorsese interviewed about that, said, because we couldn't bear to see it at that moment. That's why I moved. It's this very like famous pan away from him into an empty hallway. It's like, because it's too, you can't bear to see this kind of, I don't know, humiliation.
Right.
And so that's not, I guess he is taking himself seriously, but there's no sense of I'm being praiseworthy or superior or something like that. It's more just kind of desperate. So there can be a cringiness to desperation, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right. You know, I don't think I've ever seen Taxi Driver the whole way through.
I could tell based on you not.
By my reaction, yeah.
Yeah. It's, you got to see it. It's like
I know, I don't know why I've avoided
20 movie of all time.
I've talked about
so
my
good.
problem with 70s cinema, and it's just the look.
I block that out.
I'm younger than you.
It's like I have problems with 90s hip hop. You know, it's like, they just hadn't really figured out how to like get that synth voice going.
I found another example of cringe that I think was real peak self-owned cringe. Somebody made fun of James Lindsay. You've seen James Lindsay do that video, like he had a video of himself practicing
like samurai sword.
Yeah. Somebody tweeted to him, "You're a middle-aged man with a collection of mall swords that cries about breakfast cereal," and then quote tweeted him. And you know, the mall swords is a pretty funny, I think, insult to like that he went and got these things that he values so much, but he replied and said, "I only have one sword that qualifies as a mall sword, which is a stand-in until I'll belly up to the $3,000 price tag for the real one, groomer." And it's like, whoa, man, he took it seriously. It was like it was a weird moment of too vulnerable. Like
I think though, like with him, like sometimes you cross the line into like you're not cringe anymore. You're just crazy. You just lost it completely. And so like, I don't know, for me, that's less, I don't find the James Lindsay stuff. There's nothing he can do anymore that I'll think is funny or interesting because like, it just seeseems like he's gone.
Well,
totally
he has
out
gone
of
off the
his
deep
mind.
end, but usually he has superiority in his like tone when he like, he's just incessantly mocking people and he is gone off the rails. But this one was like, you could tell it got to him. Like you could tell this one insult of calling him, like he cares about swords. So like he needed to like, it's just bad.
But I do like, I think it doesn't matter what the content is if you're at that
If,
point
like, you're
where I
so
think
you're
you're
making, like, a
at,
character.
like you're just completely lost your mind. You know, I think a lot of celebrities, I'm not saying he's a celebrity. I'm saying like a lot of celebrities sometimes get to this point.
You remind me of another cringe, not to bring up Joker again, but Jared Leto's Joker is very cringy, right? And then when you hear about some of his behavior on the set where he was trying to somehow be like a method actor about playing the Joker, those are just terribly cringy stories. You're like, wow, that's someone taking themselves so seriously for something that really does not deserve for that performance. Yeah.
I think there's something about this is good for the necessary and sufficient conditions, or at least a boundary condition. Like you have to be confident that if somehow it could be revealed to them, like what people were thinking, that would affect them in a normal way, like it would affect you or me.
Okay, so let me ask you about this one. So your boy who is, I just lost the name of the HBO series, the Succession, the guy who plays
Jeremy Strong.
Yeah, and that when that article came out about him,
yeah,
like those were some real cringe, like it was insulting to him because I think it portrayed him in such a cringy light. And so what you're saying now is if he realizes that behavior is cringy, like upon reading that, then it's proper cringe. But if he doesn't,
or maybe like, I think he'll be like, that's just who I am. So like if people find it embarrassing, you know, whatever, like at a certain point, like I think my wife does this. Like if you embrace your cringiness sometimes, you're kind of immune then.
And
it actually makes other people not worry about it anymore.
Right,
You're like,
right.
yeah, I get it.
Well,
Yeah.
so that's
but that
why
shows us self-awareness, I guess.
exactly. That's why those
Yeah.
like TikTok accounts where they're doing it on purpose.
But it's not that they're doing it on purpose. So that's not what I'm saying. It's just that they know it's cringe and they don't care.
Yeah, I still think that like the, that actor Jeremy, whatever.
You think that's cringy?
I think it's cringe. If those stories are the stories that they are, I think him not being aware just makes it more cringe.
So, all right. Well, we've gone on a lot about
You're gonna have to edit
and
this
probably been. I'm cringing at how much I'm going to edit this. But congrats to the younger generations for making this like an adjective.
Exactly.
Good job. I think it's a good one.
Good job,
it's,
Zoomers.
it's valuable, and we're here to break it down for you and teach you what it really means.
That was good cringe right there. That was quality cringe content. Wait. Last example I posted. I'll post this one. There was a church. There was a Christian church ceremony, on stage where they did a whole skit in full-on Avengers uniforms, but about Jesus.
I saw
Did you see that?
Yeah.
That one. Christians have non-denominational Christians have a good lock on the cringe market.
When they want to rap or something. Jews rapping is a lot. Also, it can happen. It can work, but
No,
you gotta be that
Jews
guy's
rapping
Dave.
is a lot funnier than Christians rapping.
No, that's true. Yeah. We still have the kind of entertainment, vaudeville kind of history to draw on, whereas those people really don't have anything. All right, we'll be right back to talk about simulation theory. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Life can be overwhelming and so many people are burned out, sometimes without even knowing it. Do you feel a lack of motivation, or maybe do you feel a little helpless or detached, tired all the time? That could be stress and the general burnout of life that we all experience to some degree. And a lot of people associate burnout with work, but sometimes it never seems to stop. All the details of life, the bullshit, the online forums, the maddening bureaucracy, the news like politics, social media, living online, everything. BetterHelp Online Therapy wants to remind you to prioritize yourself. And talking with someone, a trained, unbiased observer, can help you figure out what's causing stress in your life and how to deal with it in the most effective way possible. When I was growing up, there was a little stigma to therapy. Not a lot, but definitely it was there. Thankfully, that's not the case anymore. I interact with a lot of students, and more of them are telling me these days about the benefits that therapy has had on their life. Well, BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Very Bad Wizards listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/VBW. That's BetterHelp.com/VBW. Thanks, as always, to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Welcome back to Very Bad Wizards. This is the time where we love to thank everybody who gets in touch with us, emails us, tweets at us, joins the lively subreddit community, how all the different ways that you interact with us and interact with the rest of the Very Bad Wizards community. It feels cringe to call it the Very Bad Wizards community a little bit.
You know what apropos our cringe conversation, I told my daughter that we were talking about cringe.
Yeah.
And in a very Zoomer way, she goes, "Dad, you using the word cringe is kind of cringe."
Yeah, that's already too. Like,
I was like, you can't also use it in your condemnation of.
no, but they're at a different level.
Yeah, it's a different.
That sucks, though. Our whole first segment is just totally like destroyed with that one line. Oh, well, we do our best.
We try. We try hard. Very sincerely.
Anyway, if you aren't a Zoomer and that wants to make fun of us, or even if you are, fuck it. You can email us at verybadwizards@gmail.com. You can tweet at us at Tamler, at Peas, at verybadwizards. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, join the subreddit, Very Bad Wizards subreddit. You can give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts so other people can find out about about Very Bad Wizards and join the Very Bad Wizards community.
And if you want to support us in more tangible ways, you can do any of a number of things that you can see if you go to our verybadwizards.com support page. You can give us a one-time donation on PayPal. You can buy some swag, mugs, T-shirts, or you can join our wonderful group of patrons on patreon.com. If you do that, you get some perks. At $1 and up, everybody gets ad-free episodes, and you get all of the collections of my beats that I put together, which I just released, Beats Without Rhymes, Volume 6.
Yeah, it's getting some good reviews.
Some love.
Yeah, a lot of love.
Yeah, so thank you to everybody who gives me love about that. At $2 and up, you get that, and you get all of our bonus segments. And again, we need to figure out we were just talking about something.
Well, I'm gonna do one. I think it's almost nailed down the time with Jesse and Natalia on Lost Highway. And
are
then,
you starting a podcast with them?
Is
there something that you're not telling me?
Is it starting the podcast? A new podcast? If it's still Very Bad Wizards, it's just.
Asshole. And eventually we'll do Atlanta. We'll do Atlanta this summer.
Oh, God. Yeah, you got to see it.
Yeah.
So good.
I still haven't watched it. Yeah. So at $2 and up, you get bonus segments. At $5 and up, you get that, and you get to vote on an episode topic that we have a couple times a year. You get access to our Brothers Karamazov series, 5-part series. You get access to my intro psych lectures, few of Tamler's lectures on Plato Symposium. And finally, $10 and up, you get to ask us anything and get videos. And the audio version of those videos, then people get at $2 and up as well. They float down.
Yes.
After a month.
They trickle down.
They trickle down like good Reaganomics. So yeah, thank you to everybody for all your support. We very much appreciate it in any way that you support us.
And we have an Ask Us Anything coming up too that we got to.
Yeah, we got a lot of good questions.
Yeah,
so, like maybe too many.
I know. We've answered every question so far. This one will be a test.
It will be a test. We're gonna have to be more economical in our answers.
Yeah, we have not been economical.
We're gonna have to just answer yes or no for some of them.
Yeah, from now on, we'll just have to make them multiple choice.
Yeah. So, but thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it.
All right, let's talk about glitch in the matrix and simulation theory more broadly. The basis of this discussion is going to be a movie by Rodney Ascher, a documentary. So this is by the same director who did Room 237, and it has a lot of similarities in how it's structured, and also I think maybe the kind of person
Right.
that's being. Yeah, and then there's also some really interesting footage of Philip K. Dick
Yeah.
and his announcement to a French audience for the first time that he believed that we were living in a simulation and that he had been contacted by an outside force. He had like a transcendent rational being within him for a time or something. I don't totally. Did you know all about this?
No, I did not at all.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure that was it clear that what he believed in was simulation theory, or just that there were like multiplicities of worlds that could leak into each other.
I thought maybe it's just because I was projecting because I knew what the movie was about.
Double checked. Philip Dick did say in that speech, clearly, we are living in a computer program reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs.
Right. Yes, like Mandela effect, so there's interesting footage. There's really good animation that accompanies the interviews, and the people themselves are computer generated like avatars of some kind.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They're like a filter.
Yeah.
But it's like a filter that has these, I guess, custom made avatars of different weird looking beings.
Yeah, like a wolf, a standing wolf with like a bow tie. Or there's one guy that looks like a Star Trek or Star Wars kind of alien.
Yeah, it's like an alien with a spacesuit on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the wolf one looked like Anubis, the Egyptian god kind of.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I don't think their voices are disguised. I mean, they give their real names and they're. So there's a lot of stuff in this movie that is Very Bad Wizards has treated a bunch of these topics, sometimes lightheartedly, sometimes not.
Right.
But I was kind of amazed at how, like, this is a synchronicity, I think, at how many things it's like, oh, we've said that, or we've talked about that, or, I guess not surprisingly, but still.
Right.
And it also has an interview with Nick Bostrom and a guy named Eric Davis, who worked on Philip K. Dick's like final tome. And I actually really liked his interviews. And when it's someone like Bostrom or Eric Davis, there's no avatar. Yeah.
Right. And what's the woman? Then there's a woman actually.
That's
as well.
right. I don't remember her name, but she was really good too. She talks about Plato's cave, so she kind of gives philosophical context, but is very good about relating that to what's going on in the movie.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's just start here before we go through all of this in more detail. What did you think of the movie?
I liked the movie, Tamler. I didn't love it. Everything that they talked about, I think, was fascinating. Just as a film, though, I found it to be a little more scattered. I was surprised at the amount of tangents he allowed the people to go on. I think I know what he was doing. He was making the viewer inhabit the world of tangents that these people go on. Mm-hmm. And I get that. So I don't know that it's a flaw. I just think that it was, there wasn't as tight a thesis as I felt Room 237 to be, which is weird to say because the thesis has to come through editing, right? Because you can't expect that all of these disparate people are going to somehow provide you with like a theme for the movie. But the thing that I did love is I think he took his editing up a notch. He brings in so many films, video games, and custom sort of animated sequences. Yeah. That alone, I think, made it enjoyable to get through.
I like the simulation tank where he has this transcendent experience. One of the interviewees,
sensory deprivation,
sensory deprivation tank. Yeah, that animation was so cool, and the music. I think the music is great throughout this movie.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, it really was.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I loved it. I fucking loved this movie. I loved it in a way that I didn't. I mean, I really liked Room 237, but I responded to this movie. Like, first of all, because I don't know how acquainted with some of these ideas I was. Certainly not in any depth, but just to see these people who, really believe it, and then to just get little clues as to what kind of people, what ties them all together, what kind of person is attracted to this view of the world. So there was that element, and that's also in Room 237, I think. But just a lot of the other stuff conveyed this mood or tone. Like it made me upset watching it
Yeah,
right now.
me
Like
too.
there was an air of like paranoia and just unease. Like, and I think it conveyed, like he's really good at conveying this sense, which I sometimes feel when I'm just out in the world myself, that like the world is kind of cracking up a little bit. Like, yes, reality is getting less and less tethered, and that's part of it. But it's also like realities are just getting shittier. There's a kind of desperate shittiness to everything. And it really kind of, and you know, I think some of the characters even say something like that. Or maybe
Yeah.
Eric Davis says Philip K. Dick was good about capturing the texture of life today. You know, he was prophetic about that aspect of it. And then I think that's kind of how I felt too about this movie. Is that it was, I as the theories started to get crazier, but then all of a sudden someone would say something that was pretty insightful. I can't remember when it was, but when I texted you like this movie is wild,
I was wondering about that.
I felt like, I don't know, like very disturbed by how these ideas are out there and what it means that, you know, this view is just gaining more and more popularity.
Yeah, there is something really interesting. And this is the one thing I do remember talking about on the podcast, which is there something that's causing the idea to be sticky now? I suspect maybe there's a slight difference in the distress that we had. My distress was, I felt what you felt about like, yeah, the reality does seem to be fucked up. But I felt more both pangs of sadness for these people.
Yes.
And also I was frustrated with them because I found there was something in the egocentrism and the rampant solipsism that they expressed that made me angry at them.
Oh, see, I felt like I couldn't be angry at them, like any of them, for even a second, because they're just so lonely. It felt.
Angry is not the right word. Frustrated.
Yeah.
Frustrated at the. You know me, I don't like the looseness of those connections and the way that they were talking about other people being just maybe non-existent. I was like, it sounds a little entitled, buddy. Like it sounds like a little.
Yeah, and I think actually the majority of critics had more your reaction, like good, you know, some really cool stylistic touches, but for whatever reason it reached me. Maybe it's just like because I've been feeling this when I go out, like just to go to the store, like everyone just seems a little more pissed off. Everybody feels just a little like, and also there's like uncanniness to it. And I feel like clearly like this stuff has always been going on and people kind of start sensing this at different times, but it feels like lately that this is getting more and more like this.
You know what? Now that you say that, the uncanniness, you remember like right when shit hit with the pandemic, like it was totally uncanny, right? It was like we were in vanilla sky, like nobody was on the streets. And then there was the uncanniness when everybody was wearing masks.
Yeah.
It was this real, just weird moments. I wonder if like there is this theme throughout of at least a couple of the guys who are being interviewed talk about the notion of a non-player character.
That was one of my favorite segments.
Yeah, right. So I wonder if, and this sounds like I'm an anti-masker, which is you are that I'm not.
Yeah.
Which is that maybe there really is something about our inability to see people's faces clearly, makes it not just uncanny in that everyone's wearing masks, but we lose a bit of the humanity in our interactions and are like walking by and seeing people's facial expressions and like they might seem more like a non-player character.
Definitely. Like I remember like nobody's wearing masks here in our grocery store anymore, but when they were, and they were for, you know, like over a year, at least year and a half, it was like hard to hear people too.
Yeah.
Like you talk to people because I live in the South. So often you talk to the person that's checked.
They're like Charlie Brown.
Couldn't hear it. Yeah. So it's like this muffled, like adults from the Charlie Brown TV show. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I am of the opinion that this is all like a product of the weird psychology of these people, but also the weird psychological things that are going on in the world,
times,
and not that this is uncanniness of the universe. But I get the feeling.
Yeah.
I get that, you know.
Yeah, and just like that it's fraying too. Like he's really good at conveying that like the reality or what you think is real is kind of fucked up, but also it's like ready to come apart, you know?
Yeah.
It's like it's not in good shape. It needs repair, you know?
Right.
Like
And
the guy who says people always talk about like technology as being this like great thing where everything's new. I feel like my life is technology that's just breaking. Yeah, failing. Exactly.
I've had long spells of life where I feel like that's it. Like, yeah, what this now too? What the hell? There is something deeply interesting to me about the number of thoughts that I think are otherwise unrelated. Like if you were to sit and take apart like each of the things that people are saying, this world is frustrating. Also, like I don't connect with other human beings. Also, times are shitty. Also, there's this simulation thing that might be true. All of them are really could be just independent claims, and some are even weirdly inconsistent with each other. It's just that they're all feeling something, and there is some appeal to this view that has, in at least one case, seemed to like at least get someone through some hard times. In another case, ruined his life.
Yeah, definitely. It highlights the similarities between simulation theory and religion, right? It is just a religion.
Absolutely.
But it's like a religion for the lonely. It's a religion for like the isolated. You know, when they do their origin stories of how they came to understand that we're living in a simulation, it's like they all just like have this desperate loneliness. One person like got kicked out of the house by his parents and then played video games every day, working at Chili's for 2 hours.
For 2 years.
2 years.
Just lost in like working at Chili's and playing video games.
And then another one was like he moved from Pontiac, Illinois, which had a lot of people, to some other like shittier Illinois town with few people and never saw anybody. And like he's like, yeah, I didn't have access to a lot of people then. And and then there's one guy who had Crohn's disease, and then the guy who ends up shooting his adopted parents. Well, he was abused, alone. The one who got into the Matrix.
Yeah.
So it really does feel like it is a religion. It has a lot of the same things that religion has.
Yeah.
It has gods. It has kind of fate. It has little glitches. It has
and it provides a sort of metaphysics. Not a good one, but it provides metaphysics. Yeah.
But it's like often the good thing about religion, the reason I sort of am disappointed that I'm not, and sometimes I'm not really, but that is that religion provides community, like ritual and community, which I think are generally good things. But simulation theory definitely doesn't provide that.
That's right.
It does the opposite. It seems like it gives you more excuse and like motivation to not see people.
Yeah, and one of the things that religion provides too is an organized view of how the world works that's shared by many people. Mm-hmm. And simulation theory isn't there, right? Like these are all people who believe in some version of simulation theory, but oftentimes their versions are so strikingly different from each other's. And because of, as you say, there's no community of people who, there is no, it's a pre-theoretical religion, right? Like what?
Right. The details are completely changed from person to person.
Yeah, and left to your own, like everyone's left to their own devices to fill in the blanks. Okay, now that simulation theory is something I believe, what follows?
How many people are real and how many people are conscious?
Well, that's the thing. That says a lot, right? Some people found themselves going towards solipsism and some people weren't, right? Because it's a very different thing to say this is a simulation and you, Tamler, are a brain in a vat just like I am. Versus I'm the only one.
We've talked about it and we can discuss this more if we want, but if every single person is conscious and exactly the way we think they are, just like we are, and the world works according to the laws that we think it works by, but it's a simulation, that to me is almost an empty claim. I remember you made that point really early on, I think, in our history. And I remember thinking, that's interesting. I mean, I don't know, like I kind of dismissed it, but I didn't think of it as having no substance at all.
Right. Yeah, and people would border on stuff like that. Like there is a way in which you can describe what the universe is. Like the person who goes in the sensory deprivation chamber, the Anubis guy.
Yeah.
And he said he has this realization that we're all just code. And he says, I kind of knew that because of DNA.
Right.
Well, yeah, like in one sense, it is all just code. I mean, it's all like information in some way. It's just, like I was struggling sometimes to think of what are they arguing against?
Well, so here's the difference, though, right? Like, so what is different from, like, substantively, but this is a different metaphysical claim, or at least a different claim, if, like, 40% of the people I interact with don't have consciousness,
That's right. No.
And so, like, which a lot of people believe that, because of computing power. Like
that was like some funny shit. I was like, how are you coming up with this estimate?
Right. We're, like the constraints that the things that they feel, the details they feel like they could know versus what they don't seem totally arbitrary.
Right. It's the universe has really advanced PlayStation. We know that it can't it can't do everything. And so so to be specific.
Yeah, and also and then maybe like Brazil just is all like it's all non-conscious people until somebody goes there or something from the outside. Like, so if that's true, that is very different,
Yeah. No,
that would change how I view the world if, like, a lot of times I didn't know if they were an NPC or a character.
Right. But I don't think that's what the guy was saying necessarily, because you could believe that this is all simulation. And I guess the only difference is that you believe that this is, as they say, not the base reality, or the base reality.
Not the base reality. Right.
But then it turns into just another version of believing in some sort of like Gnostic dualism, where there's the gods in the real metaphysical realm, and they created us out of meat, and forced us into these bodies. Theirs is just, the simulation theory is just now a different kind of version of that.
It definitely felt like that, like the Hindu version of it, which has like avatars of people and who are, and constant worlds within worlds are being created. And it just seemed like this is just a version of those. But there's something about the version that really makes people less social rather than more social. It seems like.
Or the order is flipped.
There you go. As a question, like, one of the guys seemed to have this idea that, like, someone like Kanye West was actually being played. Like, it's like a video game. And so, like, he's playing him for a really good time, then he checks out, and he's really good and gets him to be like, a famous rapper or whatever. Right. But then just gets kind of bored of it and just leaves it. And then he said that's how you explain, like, celebrities' quick decline or quick, rise.
The player logged off.
I don't get that. Do you get that? Like, do you get how that is supposed to work?
I think the idea is that when the player logs off, what takes over is just some algorithm. So like they become an NPC temporarily, and they don't have the excellence that the player who's playing him has to log on. So like,
but what are we then? Like, what am I in this worldview?
I don't know. That's a good question. I assumed that he meant that, like, we all have
somebody playing us,
and they're mediocre. But then it just starts being like, well,
like
I am the player.
Shitty podcasters.
I mean, sadly, it's just me in control of, like, my life. Like,
but so is the idea that we feel like we're in control, but it's actually them in control?
I don't know.
But then what happens when they just stop playing us? I don't feel like sometimes. I act with more purpose, or maybe it's like the times I'm just like on Twitter, I can't get off.
Goes to show some of these claims are the evidence that's used for the claims is a spattering of fairly ludicrous notions about, like, what it really is. Like religion, you already believe it, and so what you're doing is looking for some pieces of evidence. So one of the guy, he was raised religiously, and so he says, when I was 11 or 12, like, I was in church and everyone was singing, and I thought to myself, these are all just weird. We're all just bags of meat, and there's just singing.
And the meat flaps of the throat.
The meat flaps of the throat.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, somehow this was what led him to believe that
none of this is real.
It was very weird, especially the whole meat flap idea, which is
It was interesting because he was just like, everybody's all dressed up. He was like, and it's at church and everyone's dressed up and they're singing and they're taking this so seriously. And I think he's just marveling at the absurdity of it. And then it's the absurdity that makes him think that it's not real.
Yeah, and I've definitely had those moments, and I
Yeah.
remember having them as a kid where you're just like, this is kind of crazy. Like, what? This is absurd. Those moments of almost like clarity
Where you just...
where it's like peeled back and you
Yeah.
realize that like this is just, would like this ultimately powerful God want us all to wear a specific kind of clothes and chant in these very specific ways for his
Right.
glory? Like, that's just odd. We're all just in this building flapping.
Right, and it is weird, and everyone got all dressed up to do this, to come here and just start making noises from our throats about things that don't even make sense.
And he's like, and it was the 80s, so people dressed up more. And I was like,
Yeah.
wait, did you? So if you had been a kid in the 2000s, you wouldn't have been led to simulation theory.
There's another guy that says, like, I thought of an orange fish, and then, like, 3 blocks later, there's a sign with an orange fish, and then he says, I love this one. My favorite one is he's like, a lot of people work like 5 days in a week. I like to work in weeks of 12 days. And then he said that, like, he started noticing, like, every 3 days within the 12-day week, not the 7-day week or the 5-day, but like little things would happen. So it really is like almost more than 237 because they are at least constrained by the movie.
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
They are not constrained by anything in these.
Right. Room 237 is constrained by the text.
Yeah.
There is no text for this, right? Like
There's just life.
This episode of Very Bad Wizards is brought to you once again by the I Am Bio podcast. If you like podcasts and you like educating yourself via podcasts and you have an interest in biotechnology and its intersection with politics, patience, and the fate of our planet, then I recommend you check out the I Am Bio podcast. I Am Bio brings you powerful stories of biotechnology breakthroughs, the people they help, and the global problems they solve. This spring, I Am Bio dives into today's important issues, like what are the biggest threats to our planet's water supply? What are the latest Alzheimer's research findings? And how is biotech addressing the addiction crisis? The podcast is hosted by Dr. Michelle McMurray Heath, President and CEO of the Biotechnology Innovation Organization, and she leads you through all of these topics. In fact, if you're interested at all in the way in which drug prices are set and how that affects patient access, check out their latest episode. Throughout all the episodes, you're guided by Dr. McMurray Heath, who herself is a medical doctor and a molecular immunologist by training, and can be trusted. She's spent her entire career helping patients benefit from these cutting-edge innovations. So get answers on how biotechnology is changing our world. Subscribe to the I Am Bio podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Our thanks to the I Am Bio podcast for sponsoring this episode of Very Bad Wizards. Yeah, that guy who opens it, who switched to 12-hour work week and says, 12-day week, I mean, I think it's the same guy who opens it up by telling this anecdote that I actually thought was cool. And when aqueducts were the ultimate technology, people believed that it was humors that controlled the everything about the body and the mind. And then when telegraphs came, it was like all nerve impulses. And then computers came, and everybody's like, well, we're all just computers. And which I think is totally true. Like our primary metaphors for what humans are often comes from our ultimate technology. And then he says something like, so if you're in the future and you're watching this and the things that I'm saying like sound a little dumb, it's just because our technology was constrained to like digital computers at this point.
I like that he thinks they're going to be many orders of magnitude smarter than he is, but they might not get that he was constrained by this technology.
Right. He doesn't want to be mocked.
And then they're like, oh, okay, no, that's a good point. He's right. We shouldn't mock them. But I think his point was more like, but it seems like what follows from that is not that, well, we live in a simulation, but that like we think we are translating whatever experiences we're having into this technology, but that doesn't mean it's real any more than it meant that like, everything was nerve impulses or everything,
right.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to see the deep influence of video games across all of these people and stories. And it's like, were it not for the fact that we have these games with these non-player characters and these ability to do whatever you want, it doesn't seem like this would be something that you're naturally drawn to. These people are deeply influenced by The Matrix, maybe, but video games, clearly.
For sure. And a lot of their terminology and just the idea of an NPC. And I just loved that idea. And I loved what he did with that, where I think it's Eric Davis being interviewed. And he says, imagine if you played video games all the time. Like the idea of an NPC that would constantly be on your mind. And he's like, I don't play video games and I still have like encounters with NPCs. And then they show a clip from Blue Velvet, Kyle MacLachlan passing by, like a great Lynchian character of just like, but I love the idea that these kind of Lynchian people that you see in real life, that they're just, I don't know, like aesthetically quirky touches by whoever's doing the simulation. They just don't have consciousness. They don't have, it's just another way of explaining just these weird, uncanny things about life. And that this is the way he's doing that.
Yeah, totally. One of the things that about this sort of like video game view of the world that one of them expresses, the guy who was from Pontiac, Illinois, was a real belief that none of the rest of the world, you mentioned this earlier, that none of the rest of the world exists while you're not there. Mm-hmm. That like it's constantly just being updated right around you. And so they have this little animation of he's describing his drive to whatever, through Illinois, through like nowhere. And they have this little animation of just a car on a treadmill with like the set changing around them. Yeah. And that's when it just like seems like hard for me to believe that people would actually believe that one. That like the world just doesn't exist when you're not looking. But I think that's like, that comes back when they're talking about computing power and even Nick Bostrom says something like, we don't have to fill in every single detail of the universe. We only have to fill them in when people are paying attention to it, like in a video game. Yeah. You know? By the way, this is random. I just want to say it. I knew this, but was reminded viscerally of how many Philip K. Dick things have been turned into movies and TV shows. Great movies, too. Like really good. Yeah. Blade Runner, Total Recall, A Scanner Darkly. Minority Report. Man in the High Castle. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that one. I didn't remember that. And they all have that feel of just like the world is not what it seems. Yeah. Like I'm not what I seem or what I think I am. And also everything is kind of fucked up and kind of against you. There are powers in control that are a little bit or a lot antagonistic towards you. Yeah, there is this like not everything is what it seems. Like I'm slightly paranoid. There are little tears in the fabric of reality that are allowing me to see through. Yeah. I really also just love that all of his works weren't explicitly driven by this idea, by this like propositional idea. It just, he only came to realize that this is what's been driving so many of his ideas. And I love the thought that there could be themes to our lives that we're not aware of. Yeah. This is like in a lot of the narrative view of the self stuff that there are people who think we should be looking at our lives like critics, like and interpreting our lives, and that how we interpret it is actually like a way of kind of finding meaning and creating more meaning. And his 40s really, his 30s were great. He just took a dive in his 40s. There was some event right around, it looks like 2012, and everything went downhill from there. Do you want to talk about the simulation argument itself? Yeah. Yes, definitely. As the movie says, and as most people know, it's an idea that's not new necessarily. At least certain aspects of the idea have been around forever. But the modern version of it is that, yes, we are a computer simulation being run, who knows, by some people who have advanced technology. So Bostrom gives this, I really want to know what you thought of this, where he says, look, the real state of affairs could be one of three things. There could be that most civilizations never reach the technology, what he calls technological maturity, which is underspecified as fuck. A little kind of sinister. Yeah, exactly. So that beings just become extinct for whatever reason, civilizations don't make it past a critical point to develop their technology into the sort of technology that would be able to run simulations. 2, civilizations do get to that point where they have sufficient technological advancement, but they just lose interest in the whole idea and they never get around to making simulations. And 3, they can do it, they're interested in doing it, and they did do it. And if you accept that third one, then it's just a short step to say the number of simulations must vastly outweigh the number of realities just because of the nature of how easy it is to simulate. So probabilistically, we are currently in a simulation.
Right. If you've ruled out the other two hypotheses. Yeah. Which as far as the argument goes, I probably agree with that part. What I don't get, and I know there's a lot of fancy probability theory in this, but I just don't get what the basis for assigning a probability is to the first one, that human species go extinct until they reach technological maturity, which means that they can create simulations and in the simulations, at least some of the people are conscious in the way that I'm conscious, right?
Yeah. But that first one is saying, like, it could be that nobody ever gets to the point of making simulations to begin with.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I just want to, like, when they say make simulations, it's not that they run, like, simple models. They run our world where, at least one person is conscious, but probably a lot more, right? Yeah. And I just don't know, like, Elon Musk says, like, if you just think of any rate of advancement, we started out with Pong and then, now look where we are computer-wise, you just have to assume that we will be able to do this. I just don't know what the basis for that claim is.
Yeah, it's a weird optimism, but this is a guy who thought that, we'd be having full self-driving cars by now. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of people who are working in AI and machine learning really, really don't think that we're going to make that kind of advancement anytime soon.
And also, how we don't, given that we don't understand consciousness, how would we know whether, like, a computer could do it or not? What basis do we have? That's the problem with the whole argument for me.
And he just assumes that it is true, right? This is to Elon Musk, we're idiots for thinking that it wouldn't be true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Like, I would love to just pose that question to someone who,
they would give you a boring answer. They would say, well, are you saying that brains aren't computational?
Maybe.
Yeah. Then they would dismiss you as a quack. I'm telling you, like, this, they have no interest in this. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe I'm straw manning here, but I really don't think so. I think that they would say, like, it's so obvious that with sufficient complexity, like, we would be able to actually create subjectively experiencing conscious beings. But that, I also had the same exact thought as you. Wait, what? Like, how?
That's just faith. Like, that's just an expression of faith. That's why I think it's stupid that these papers all have these, like, fancy probability. You can't assign a probability to that at this point.
Well, I came across, again, there's no way that I could ever understand some of these papers, but I came across a paper that I might have mentioned last time we talked about this, and it was a paper by real physicists who study quantum shit, and they had an argument that it was just impossible that we could be living in a simulation because of the particular kinds of quantum phenomena, at least a simulation by a digital computer. Mm-hmm. Because of the quantum stuff that's going on, that there is just no way to properly simulate the quantum shit. And given that we know that quantum shit is at the basis of our reality, that that it would be impossible for anything we know of as a computer to do it.
Right.
And I don't know how good that is, but I haven't, like, how good that argument is or how well received it is. But that's the kind of argument that I would take seriously when it comes to probability. Not probability, just like sort of, is this, not just is it conceptually possible, but is this something that makes any sense given what we know about computers and what we know about reality?
Right. Yeah. The hubris of even just, this is at least an 85% chance that we'll just be able to create something that is conscious is just insane because we don't understand how that works with us.
No, I know. It's frustrating.
It's very weird. It's like there's a missing step. All these are very smart people, obviously, but it's like they have this one little gap that just allows them to, like, overlook the fundamental absurdity of making these kinds of calculations.
So one of the things that I wanted to ask you to make sure I understood it is these sort of three possibilities that he's mapped out. He thinks they're exhaustive, right? So like it has to be one of these three. I don't know if it matters, but so one, we go extinct before technological maturity. Two, we lose interest. Everybody loses interest. I mean, it's also possible that like three civilizations achieve technological maturity and made simulations that have conscious beings in it. And then the probability would still be kind of low that we were in a simulation, given how many other worlds there probably are out there that are not simulations.
So you mean that we could just be on a civilization that just hasn't achieved it yet?
Yeah, and like that could be 99.9% of civilizations don't achieve it. 0.1% do, and they do it. But that means there's only like, say, 80,000 simulations going on, and there are actually 10 million worlds with conscious beings. So like the odds are, the odds calculation in number 3 would be low. Even though simulations can exist, it doesn't mean that there are that many of them.
Right. It could be that there are more non-simulation based realities than there are. Now, I guess the idea is even if there are these other civilizations, there's still one base universe. Though.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's what covers that. Like, so there's still, like, you're not talking about your civilization when you're doing this calculation, but your whole universe as a whole.
Your whole universe.
Yeah. The one where, like, or this isn't an objection exactly, but why are we creating all these simulations? And how does that work? Like, do we, what's the point of running more than one simulation? So does it assume that determinism is false, or is it just that they're manipulating variables for some reason?
Yeah, I think so here's one possibility. Suppose that there are all these scientists everywhere, and you know how we run simulations with every conceivable variable tweaked so that we know, say, whether some high pressure front is going to turn into a terrible storm.
Yeah.
And so you are running like 1,000 simulations. Now, suppose that in order to predict what's going to happen next, you know that you have to run like the most accurate simulation possible. And then tweak only the slightest variable. And so the scientists on those worlds are creating such rich simulations in order to predict what's going to happen that they, by mistake, have created these universes of real people, or of people like us, at least. Again, this is sort of a metaphor porting over what we know about how we do things. Like scientists run thousands of simulations for one paper, right?
I mean, that sounds totally right, but I'm just wondering still, like, if you dig into the details of that, let's say they're trying to predict whether, like, a war will start. Do they just run, like, 1,000 simulations?
Yeah, suppose you want to know whether the Celtics are going to win tonight, and you know that there are things like how much the players slept, or what a fan said to somebody right before the game. There are all these things that might actually, right? These all might be scientists or not scientists. These might be gambling industry simulations in this other world that are right. And so who knows? That's just one possibility. The other possibility is they're doing it for fun. Like the one guy who says, I imagine that it's like a big marble in the middle of a room and everybody's looking at us just for their entertainment.
Like Truman Show.
Like that. And then
playing us too. I think he's the same guy who says they're not just watching us, but they're playing us.
Maybe, And he was like, he's the one who said, like, I want to build something really big so that they see it, like as they're walking down, passing our marble, they see like a huge structure on the screen. Wait, what?
I think it was him too. He was talking about what if Elon Musk is like this player character that comes down to like kind of fuck with us, and just like tell us, like give us little hints, and then goes back to talk to his extra dimensional friends, like laughing about.
That's just like digital Hinduism, like that's exactly.
Also, it's like an extra dimensional, like godlike Elon Musk bitch about like Bernie Sanders and progressives. I don't think so. That's not.
This episode of Very Bad Wizards is brought to you once again by NordVPN. A VPN, a virtual private network, is one of those things that can provide privacy and security when you're traveling, or when you're, say, on a public Wi-Fi, or even when you're at home and you don't want your ISP knowing exactly where you travel. A VPN basically provides a tunnel of encryption so that your data can flow through without any prying eyes available to see. But you might not care about any of that. And I bet you a lot of our listeners don't. But with NordVPN, you get a whole other benefit. And that is that you can access content from over 59 different countries by simply changing your virtual location with one click. You download NordVPN on your Android phone, on your iPhone, on your computer, your laptop, your iPad, and with one click, you can essentially make it look like you live anywhere and access content from any of those regions. So for instance, I have family that loves watching Spanish-speaking content from Latin America. They can make it seem as if they are dialing in, not really dialing, you know what I mean, from Chile or Argentina and get access to whatever they're watching there. If you're, say, a big fan of UK TV and you want to watch Peaky Blinders but don't want to wait until it comes out on our streaming services, you can watch it early on UK streaming services by simply doing one click. And if you're traveling and you want to get all access to your streaming service from your home country, you get that just by making sure you have NordVPN installed, so you never have to miss any of your favorite shows again. Really, this is the way that the internet should work. I'm a firm believer that physical, geographical boundaries ought not matter. And if you have access, if you pay for something, then you certainly should have access to it, no matter where you go. So if you're interested in a solution like this, go to nordvpn.com/VBW. You will get a special deal as a Very Bad Wizards listener. If it's not your thing, if you don't like it, if you think that it didn't provide the benefits that you thought it would, fine, there's no risk. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee. But if you do go to that URL and you sign up, you can get a pretty sweet deal. For instance, if you sign up for a 2-year plan, you'll be able to get NordVPN monthly for like $3 a month. So give it a shot. nordvpn.com/VBW. Give it a try. Our thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring this episode of Very Bad Wizards. There's a guy who tells a story. It's a very long story about how the guy says, I was raised in Mexico. I went back later on and I was with some Mexican friends of friends, and they picked me up in their Wagoneer. I could tell they were drinking, and sure enough, they offered me a beer, and then they started driving on the wrong side of the road, and then we went to drink more on this pyramid, and then we got in this terrible accident, and the banditos came, and then the federales came, and then somebody came and saved us. And that's when I knew, what are the chances? Yeah. Like that would happen in something other than a simulation. And I was like, motherfucker, you're in Mexico. It's just Mexico. It's not a simulation.
Right. No, totally. Then I've also should have realized I'm in a simulation every time I've been in Mexico.
The chances of that happening in a simulation would also be low.
Yeah. I mean, but again, this is what happens when you have the whole world to choose from to confirm your priors, your theory. Just literally anything can be that. What the more interesting thing was the Mandela effects.
Yeah, I know you find that. I knew you would love that.
That was awesome. I also love that somebody says that there's been over 200,000 recorded and 10,000 documented and confirmed Mandela effects.
It's so frustrating because if I'm watching it and I'm like, I never thought Mandela died in prison, and all they would say is, yep, so you're part of that universe then. It's like, oh, fuck!
But how did they confirm it? What's how is that possible to confirm it for that same reason?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't falsify it. You also can't confirm it. So, I guess maybe they just mean people having different memory, a significant number of people having different
more
memory.
than two. More than two people remember Kit Kat.
But this is what, what you were saying about you have this idea of a reality and it's fraying and you're starting to be able, what did you say? The curtain is tearing or something.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Wizard of Oz clips too. And then you're getting a glimpse at the real thing outside. And, it was really, I thought, interesting about how Plato's cave was used in this context, because it just really is this other version of that. There's this idea that what we're seeing right now isn't real, and that outside, then we're seeing the real things, the forms, that a lot of these things might be based on, but they're not that. They're not the real thing. We're seeing images, we're seeing reflections, we're seeing dreams. And but we're getting a little bit of a glimpse, and there might be some way for us to tap into the real world, you know?
Yeah. One of the things that is so clear, I mean, is how much these ideas are helping people cope with the difficulty that is living just life, right? And one of them, this really made me kind of sad. One of the guys is expressing how he's certain that when he dies, he'll just wake up because of how many times he's woken up from a dream.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, I've lived lifetimes in dreams, and I wake up. I've had so many experiences of being ripped from my reality into this realization that I was dreaming, that I know when I die, I'm 100% certain that I'm going to wake up somewhere else. And I was like, oh man, that's tough.
I think people also use it as an explanation. I think the Matrix guy said that explicitly. Like he said, you know, that's the only explanation for why my life is so horrible, why I'm getting abused and I'm lonely. And, that
phone call was tough, man. I did not see that coming. And in fact, the movie takes this turn from being like, not lighthearted, because these people are real human beings with these views, and it's tough to come to terms with what they believe and why. But then you get to that phone call, and the way that he describes murdering his parents, and the way that he says when he shot his mom in the face that he didn't look like it looked in the Matrix.
Yeah,
I was having a tough time listening to that. Yeah. In a good way. I mean,
because I didn't know the story.
I didn't either.
So I figured there was something different because we weren't seeing him.
Yeah.
But the guy is being just painfully honest about what happened.
Yeah.
And apparently the lawyer wanted to use the Matrix defense, which it was a type of defense that people had used for like the DC sniper.
Yeah.
But he in the end decided not to do it. He thought it was his fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he really did believe he had schizophrenia. He really believed. There is a sense of the people with certain mental disorders are also attracted to this view.
I was thinking that that Room 237, that these people all sort of shared a particular kind of psychological tendency, whether it got serious enough to be called schizophrenia or not. Like, it was very much of the same ilk. This one, it was a little different. It wasn't clear. Like, some people were maybe on the spectrum. Other people might have been, like this guy Cook, having schizophrenia. Maybe he was just the odd man out. Maybe the other ones were more like, he seemed like his story was so different. But I don't know. I think, what do you think? The filmmaker might be trying to tell us that this might be the result if you take this view too seriously.
Yeah, again, the causal chains, it's not clear which direction it goes, but I do think a certain type of person, and as one of them says, like he needed religion. He's like, the only real combination of religion and science is the simulation theory. So it's somebody who I think takes themselves to be extremely rational, but then has these religious cravings that they can't make sense of, and then it results in this. I mean, the guy in the sensory deprivation tank, he was just describing a Buddhist experience that you were kind of working towards,
the dissolution of self.
Yeah. But it was, it was framed in this kind of computer language. So it's all different ways of expressing a lot of the same things. There's a lot of the same archetypes are in this theory as are in like all the major religions.
Yeah,
it seems like
it was unclear. Like I said before, it was unclear how some of these are related. Like, the dissolution of self doesn't seem to be something that naturally lends itself to the view that we're in a simulation. It's more just the particular kind of angst that's motivating these people that leads them to simulation, and the variety of experiences they have doesn't change the fact that they're attracted to this particular view.
Because the view is flexible, it can really reflect whatever, kind of religious perspective appeals to you or you're drawn to, but you don't have a way of putting it into words, and like the simulation theory is a way of articulating these feelings.
Right. One of the things that Nikki said that I think was right is that some of these people seem to just simply be grasping with the problem of determinism. One of them was saying that they realized that we might just be in a simulation because they were thinking about how they make decisions, like or the script that they go through to check out. Like he was a cashier, and every time a customer came, he had to ask them the same questions, like a little decision tree. Or this guy realized that his dad simply repeated things that he read in Newsweek. It was obvious to him that he had read it that morning. It's like sort of like a
We're like these chemical programs.
Yeah. And so the notion that the realization that he was having was we're just programs, like we are programmed like a computer. Again, it's not clear to me that means we're in a simulation, only that we are, maybe that there is a deterministic path to
Yeah, I mean, like, does he think that like the things that we say aren't in some way like causally influenced by like what we've read or what we've just experienced? No, but I think again, it's like, I think the feeling there is, it's why is everybody so dumb and boring and so it's not just trying to make sense of the fact that they're determined as much as why are they determined to be in this way that's like either abusive to me or like alienating from me, and that just seems blatantly absurd. Why is he just repeating what he just read in the Newsweek? Like that's so boring.
Right.
But that's just your dad.
That's part of what I found to the one part that I found to be dislikable about some of these characters, which is what they're having is a failure to appreciate the rich mental lives of others.
Yes.
It's like, I feel like we all go through this, am I the only one kind of thought? But other people, when you get, it's very easy to treat other people as if they are not as deeply rich and complicated as you, what they call, what is it? Main character syndrome. Like we're all the main characters. But other people, just because your dad said the thing you read in Newsweek doesn't make the richness of his mental life any different from yours, Yeah,
I totally agree. But the reason they don't fully appreciate the rich mental life of others is because they barely interact with others at all. Yeah. And I think you need to interact with people to get that appreciation, at least, at any kind of deep level.
So I texted you when I was watching it today and said, these people are bonkers. And you said what did you say they get?
Well, because they say really sensible and insightful things, some of them.
Yeah, so you had said, you texted me back, they get more reasonable toward the end. And I was waiting for the shoe to drop. I was like, oh no, did they convince Tamler? Like, is that like, I was worried. And then I got to the point where I think it was clear what you meant. And it was when the guy who's the lion-looking avatar said, now that I'm in my mid-40s, I realize that maybe some of these beliefs were something that I just was using to cope with like the difficulty of my life. And it's like, okay, like some level of self-knowledge there.
And they all have their little moments of like, wait, am I projecting or creating this? And then, usually they're able to convince themselves. But that guy came the closest, it seemed, to really just right now he holds all of this in question.
Yeah.
No, and another thing that I was referring to is the guy, I think this is the wolf bow tie Egyptian god one, is talking about telling this theory to other people. And he says, I told my uncle about it. And he's like, well, if that's true, what's stopping me from going out and door to door and shooting people in the head? What's stopping me from shooting you in the head? And so he's relaying this story. And he says, and I was like, wait, that's what you want to do? Like,
that's the only thing that's
we have
stopping you.
Made that that's the only thing that stopped. We've made this point, I think, many times, but he's absolutely right. And he even says, like, I don't think it means it's that different if we're in a simulation or not. So I think he, but to make that point, and then, also recognize some people take, a more nihilist kind of approach to this, and this can give them the excuse to,
There was a montage there when the guy, I think right around when that guy is talking about this, and really it is culminating into this. Is this the moral implication of simulation theory, that we could just do this? There's a really good montage of video game violence, like meaningless stuff, like, Grand Theft Auto, when you just crashing into people, and it really viscerally got the point across that this is how some people might view the world. And I think that the film, like his other films, does not try to come down anywhere about.
No, it's not judging the characters at all.
But I do think that it was clear that, at least from the way that he presented it, that this ought not be the implication morally, just from the insight that people had.
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, like we've always said, it's not. I don't want to go start shooting everybody in the head. Period. It's not like...
And I do in video games, so that's fine.
Right, but that's different because it's video games. Video games aren't real. I tell the difference. These people can tell the difference. And I was listening to Weird Studies because they had a Rodney Ascher on their show. They were talking about this point in the movie, and Rodney Ascher said kind of what we always say, which is, that shouldn't be the first thing that crosses your mind when you find out that, we're in a simulation. First of all, a lot of these people may be conscious just like you.
Right.
So then one of them says, but I've always thought about this. And if we are in a simulation, there's no good moral argument against killing people. But I get what he's saying. And I think, but it's is the only reason that you're not killing people because you believe that there's this great moral argument that tells you not to?
Right.
I would think, because this is accurately reports my experience, I just have no desire to kill people in the life of what I take this to be, you know? And that just doesn't appeal to me at all. I wouldn't do it, and I don't care whether someone would say because it's morally wrong. I mean, I believe it is, but still, if it wasn't, I still don't want to do it.
Right. Even if everyone was a non-player character, I'd still not feel the need to do that. Why would I? But the mere possibility that they feel things like I feel things is reason enough. That might not be an airtight philosophical argument, but I'm well, it hurts me when you shoot me, so I don't want to do that to someone else.
Right. If I shot myself, that would hurt. So there's no reason for me to assume that that's not true of other
exactly.
people. Especially since it's so unspecified what the simulation
exactly
would have to be. But I do think some people just aren't like that. They first of all do want to go around shooting people.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, and I don't know. My question is the thing that's holding them back that they think there's reality versus a simulation, or is it just, I don't want to go to prison?
Exactly.
Because it's not like in a video game. You play Grand Theft Auto, you don't then spend 30 years in prison.
Yeah. By the way, I just remembered that there is a paper, I think at some point I might have suggested or put it in the Slack or something. There is a paper by a philosopher that takes seriously the view that hurting people in video games is morally wrong because we're not 100% sure that when we've simulated them that we're not creating some kind of mild consciousness.
That's interesting.
Yeah. That was cool.
And that's the same reasoning that would apply to us not killing people in our world.
Right.
If we thought we were in a simulation.
Hey, there's one argument that I came across that I wanted to get your thoughts on about why we're not in a simulation, or at least to doubt it. And it was that suppose there is a base reality and we're in a simulation, wouldn't that base reality have just as much reason to believe that they're in a simulation and then infinite regress?
What do you mean?
So the people who are simulating us, presumably smart technological society, wouldn't they have all of the same reasons that we have to believe firmly that they're being simulated?
Yeah.
And then every it can't be that everything is a simulation.
No, but it could be that you have to believe that you're in a simulation. But one of them is just wrong. But one of them is just
wrong. Yeah, there has to be at least one that's wrong, but with all of the same reasons that we have for thinking that we are in a simulation. They would have to, So maybe all that argument shows is that epistemologically, it's always rational to believe that you're in a simulation. All right.
Definitely. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I just can't get past the first part of it, which is that we'll be able to create these giant simulations of conscious people.
It is frustrating though, because it's a very common sense objection, and but it feels like it would never convince any of like the Elon Musks of the world.
I thought Bostrom was interesting, like, first of all, when he was describing like how much attention it's gotten,
Yeah.
he seemed to have slightly mixed feelings. I don't know, it could just be the Swedishness of him, but like he seemed like he was almost pained talking about how popular it was.
Well, totally. And he's a philosopher, and you could just tell that. Well, I think you're right that it might be the Swedish. The sense that I got is he's a philosopher like any other, and he mounted this as an argument that he has reason to believe, but that in this very philosophy way doesn't shake him to the core. Like that all of these people took it this far is like, well, it's like it's like being sort of convinced that antinatalism might be right, but having no influence on my desire to have kids. Like
Yeah, but like I think he wanted it to be an argument and not something
Exactly.
that people that actually like affected people's lives in dramatic ways.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I also liked his attitude when they talk about it towards the end. He asks Bostrom if it excites him, the idea that we might be. And he says, it's part of how he views the world. But then he says, it makes it quite compelling. He's trying to think of something like good to say about it. It makes it quite compelling that there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in our philosophy. And he says, like, maybe we've gotten like 6 out of 10 things right, but the 7th, 8th, and 9th and 10th are so momentous that it's actually like kind of deceptive to be at 6. It's like you know more at 1 or 2 than you would at 6 because of how dramatic the other like leaps of knowledge are we would have to make.
You thought the denominator was 6, right? And it turns out there's 4 other real fucked up like truths that we've never gotten a grasp of.
Yeah, and that would completely just change anything that we think about 6 because it's just a whole new conceptual framework, a whole new whatever.
Right.
So I think that like at that point he's just now I think kind of ends up where I am, which is like we have no idea like how it all really works fundamentally.
Yeah, I was going to say you don't need simulation theory to get there. Obviously, I don't even think he thinks that you need simulation theory to get there. It sounded more like the kind of thing that he's given so many talks about this that this is sort of like the moral of the story for him. But I thought I'm glad that they included him for sure.
Me too, and that part of it.
Yeah,
too.
and that part of it. I also loved, by the way, the William Blake artwork throughout. It was really, really cool. Like it's just it's cut together really cool. Like you could tell
it's a cool experience to watch. I think.
Yeah, if you can get through that phone call, which I think is really hard to listen to, and the story about Mexico, which doesn't lead anywhere other than like, isn't that crazy? The conclusion is, isn't that shit crazy? It's probably a simulation.
I like that one of them was saying maybe the simulation is flirting with you to like Rodney Ascher. Like you're making this movie, like it's letting you make this movie. It's kind of like, all right, let's.
All right. Well, Tamler, I hope that the simulation allows your team to win.
I know. That's, yeah. And if not, I'm going to tap onto that membrane between the universe and what's beyond. And try to find it.
Rip the fabric of space-time.
I want no part of a universe where the Celtics just fucking blow it, just choke, just all-time choke job in Game 5. And if they're gonna now lose it all in Game 6, then because they wanted to bitch to the refs instead of play defense.
See, philosophy has implications.
Totally implications. All right, join us next time on Very Bad Wizards.
The Great Boss has spoken. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Who are you? Who are you? A very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Good man. They think deep thoughts, and with no more brains than you have. Pay no attention to that man. Anybody can have a brain.
You're a very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Just a very bad wizard.